What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Knives of the Round Table. My name is Marco, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Rick Hinderer Halftrack. And the Halftrack is part of the. There's a Halftrack and there's a full track. So it's this specific design and just the small version and the large version, and it's kind of a departure from the more classical XM18 lines. You know, he has the XM18, which is the 3.5-inch version of the knife, the XM18 3-inch version, and then the XM24, which is the large version of the knife. But this is kind of a completely new design. It is it's boxier, it's more squarish. It doesn't have the curves that the XM18 has, but it's actually a really nice design, and it's actually a very comfortable size. So I wanted to kind of show you this one, and let me give you a tour of the knife. So this one is the spearpoint blade, and as in most Hinderers, there's choices, right? I think there's a Warncliffe version of this knife. I know there's a Bowie version of this knife. So there's different blade grinds, and like with all Hinderers, you have a choice of scales. And this is the working finish, which is kind of this heavy, dark stonewash finish. And you also have a satin finish, which is kind of my preferred. Yeah, they call the satin version the stonewash version, but this one is like a kind of like a matte bead blasted titanium version of the knife. So what you have here is, it's not a large blade, so you're coming in at 2 3/4 inches of blade length. Okay, this one is in 20 CV. I don't know if you can tell, it's written right there. Yeah, it's a 20 CV blade. It's a titanium frame lock, and it has Rick Hinderer's lock bar stabilizer / over travel stop. It does have a lock bar insert. You have the pocket clip. It's not reversible as the XM18. You can do it tip up or tip down. This is tip up only, so you carry it like so. And then in this version of the knife, you have a black and blue G10 scale. You can buy different G10 scales to do whatever you want. The availability of the scales, the hardware, or the titanium scales for the Halftrack is extremely limited. It's nowhere near what you can find for the XM18s. So so that's kind of the tour of the knife. It's not a large knife. Let me give you a kind of a dimension overall. It's probably about 6.5 inches overall. But let me give you some size comparisons here, and we can go from there. So that is the Paramilitary 2, and that is the Paramilitary 3. So as you can see, it's smaller than even the Para 3. Sharpened blade length, close to the Para 3, but in a very small package. Now, it's a thicker, chunkier boy. So let me show you. That's the Para 3, and that's the thickness. So as you can tell, it's right around the thickness of the Para 3, a little bit thicker if I line up the scales. So it's kind of a chunky boy. Now, if we compare it, here's the full-size bug out and the mini bug out. So it's kind of right in the middle of the size lengthwise of those two knives. Although, like I said, it's much chunkier. Let me show you against that's the full-size bug out thickness. So it carries nicely in the pocket, but it is a little bit thicker, and you feel it in the pocket. So let's just jump right into the review. What you have here for ergonomics is, it's actually very nice ergonomics. You know, when I see pictures of this knife, I don't see a knife that has nice ergonomics. It doesn't show up in pictures as a knife with nice ergonomics. It's not until you get it in your hand that the ergonomics kind of jump at you. Like, so this finger lands in this finger groove right here, and then this flat area is perfect for the next two fingers, and then this back side lands perfectly for your pinky. So it kind of locks the knife in place, you know, where you have different surfaces with this point, and it locks the knife in place. And then you have this little groove or drop here, and that's where your thumb lands. So you grab the knife and it wants to be held in a saber grip right here. This is where this knife wants to be. Now there is a forward finger choil. It's kind of small, at least in my large hands, you know, so it's more of a pistol grip right here. So that's not the grip that at least in my hand, where it wants to be. Maybe medium-sized hands will be better for that. But the ergonomics are actually fairly good for this knife. Now you do feel the pocket clip in this hand. It doesn't land in the hollow of my hand. It falls in the ball of my hand, so I feel it. Okay, the pocket clip, you can feel it. So the ergonomics are, in my opinion, much better than what the photo of this knife says they will be. And I think it's deceptive, but they're not great, but they're good. They're good, and like I said, they're much better than what you might expect from looking at a photo here. Now, the action is a part of the tri-way system of knives. If you can tell the symbol right here, yeah, there you go. So this is part of the tri-way pivot system, and so you get to choose whether you want it on bearings, whether you want it on phosphor bronze washers, or whether you want it on Teflon washers. Basically, with every knife, with every Rick Hinderer knife, you get a packet like this that includes the Teflon washers. What you don't see here is the phosphor bronze washers. But these two are the spacers, because bearings are thicker than washers. So this is the spacer that you include so that you can use your other washers. Now, so the action on deployment is excellent. It's really nice. It's crisp, it's fast, the detent is perfectly tuned. This is really nice action on deployment. Now closing, it's a smaller knife, so it takes so the closing takes a little bit of coaxing. It's not drop shot, and it's not a controlled drop shot. So it won't go down even slowly. If I just stop right there, it will not go down. So it takes a little bit of coaxing on the way down. But on deployment, the action's really nice. Now the action feels smooth. It feels premium. It feels really good. But it lacks the drop shottiness that you get from like the XM18, the 3.5 inch, or even the 3 inch. For whatever reason, even though the 3-inch version of the knife has a very similar blade, a little bit longer, the closing action on my XM18 3-inch is much better than what my Halftrack does. But like I said, deployment on this is really nice. And actually, one thing that I like is, I wish that they do this flipper tab on the XM18s. Is, for whatever reason, it's not as hooky as what you get. See, because here the flipper tab just goes straight out. It's a straight shot from this point to that point. It just goes straight out. The XM18, because here it has like this choil, you know, so you have flat over here, and then here it has a little bit of a round right there, but it's not as sharp or as hooky as what you get from the XM18. The feeling of deployment, it's much more comfortable, which makes this a little bit of a more fidget friendly knife here. So cutting, so let me show you the blade stock here, and I'll compare it. Let's see what's the best way to compare it. Yeah, so the blade stock is very similar to the Para 3 right there, you can tell. But what happens is, on the Para 3, you get a full flat grind that goes from here to here, so it gets down to a very thin, slicey edge. This one is a far more robust blade. This is kind of a harder use than that. So the flat carries, probably 80% of the way to the tip right here. And then, so you only have a grind from here to here, and it's not a stall of a blade. It's a shallower blade. So it doesn't get thin as fast as this one. So it's a little bit of a harder use knife. You see this tip is very robust, so I don't think it'd be a problem to pry with this one. Don't try it at home. Don't tell anybody that I recommend that. But I think if you're gonna pry, right, picking that over that, you can see where the tip of the Halftrack is far more robust. So it's not a great slicer. It cuts well, it cuts well enough for most tasks. But if you're going to be going through a lot of cardboard and that kind of thing, you want something that's a little bit slicier. But this is, like I said, a more robust, harder use type of knife. So if you want something that you kind of don't have to worry about breaking a tip or chipping an edge, then I would say that the Halftrack is a better choice. It's higher quality to begin with, but it's also the blade geometry gives you a little bit more stoutness, if you will. So now let's talk about fit and finish. Fit and finish on this thing is outstanding. I've changed scales on this. I've taken it apart and put it back together. It always comes back. It always comes back perfectly centered, as you see there. The action is really nice. The tri-way pivot, it works like a charm. And every detail on the Halftrack, from the milling of the titanium, the finish on both the blade and the scale, the satin hardware, all of that is just really, really top notch. Rick Hinderer, it's one of the Holy Trinity. He's part of the Holy Trinity for a reason, and the quality shows in this knife, just as it shows in most of his other knives. I think the only one where I've seen, where, and it's not a fit and finish, it's a design issue, is on the Hinderer wrench on a fixed blade. The ergonomics on that, something's off about the ergonomics on that knife. But the fit and finish on this one is just outstanding. Rick Hinderer is one of my favorite brands, and it's because of the offering that they show and the quality that they put out. I think they do a great job with that. Now, my airing of grievances. I spoke about the clip being a little bit of a hotspot. I think, as far as the design of the knife and the performance of the knife, that's my only grievance. But my other grievance, and the reason that I'm gonna be selling this knife, is because one of the things that I enjoy the most about Rick Hinderer is the make it your own portion of the knife, right? The having a new scale, the changing the hardware, changing pocket clips, filler tabs, all of those things, being able to do micarta or titanium or carbon fiber or wood or G10, all of those things I enjoy doing quite a bit. I enjoy, having a variety of scales, a variety of hardware, and then saying, you know what, I'm just gonna change this knife to be X and whatever the mood suits me. And while you can do that with this knife, the availability of G10 scales, of hardware, of pocket clip you do find because it's the same as the XM18. But for the rest, the hardware, the scales, both the G10 and the full titanium, they are fairly scarce. They don't produce a lot of them. You don't see a lot of runs of those scales. So trying to customize one of these as a make it your own kind of project is a lot harder than an XM18. So I think I'm gonna be selling this one and get an XM18 3-inch, it feels kind of the same size, bracket for me, and then customize an XM18 3-inch. I think I'm just gonna stick with the XM18 line, even though I do think it's an excellent design. This knife is really good. I think it's really good ergonomic. The action is very nice, and it's different, right? It's different from what he's done in the past. But for me, the customization availability for this knife it's not even close to what the XM18 has, and that's the reason this one's not gonna stick. This one's gonna be posting here for sale here in a little bit. So guys, hopefully this helps you out. I do recommend this knife. If customization is not as important to you, then absolutely it's an outstanding choice, and you can find them, and they're a really good purchase. For me, the reason it's not sticking around is because I can't customize it to my heart's content, and that's something that I enjoy doing. Well, hopefully guys, this was helpful to you. If it was, then like and subscribe. Don't get notified. Nobody likes to get more emails. You know where to find my content if you want to see it. And until I see you at the next one, take care.